As often happens, there is something else dividing all of us on the internet. It is this math problem. It is like the dress, but for arithmetic. It is ruining friendships. It is getting lots of likes and retweets on Twitter, and it is absolutely bombarding Slack channels. If you're older than 27, you know what I'm talking about. What is the answer to this math problem? Some people say that it is 16, some people say that it is 1, and some people say a value that it is definitely not. But how would we go about solving this? Well, if you are a part of this debate or you don't know what I'm talking about, you will in a second. When people talk about it, they usually bring up something you may have learned and remember from math class called PEMDAS. And this is just a way for us to remember in a handy brain way the order of operations. Now, depending on where you grew up and what kind of math class you had, this might be different. It might be PEMDAS or PEDMAS or what have you, but the idea is the same. You want to order the operations that you are doing during arithmetic to come to an accepted answer. And so when you're looking at this, you would say, oh, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So if you look at a problem like this, you would say, all right, well, I know we definitely have to do the stuff in the parentheses first. But then you have the M and the D, the multiplication and the division. And if we do that and just assume that the order in which we do that is the order in which the acronym appears, then, well, acronym, abbreviation, whatever, the order of these letters matters, then you would get 4 from 2 plus 2. You would multiply that because the M comes first with 2, and then you divide 8 into it, and you would get 1. But that's not actually the right answer. While you might remember PEMDAS from math class, what you might not remember is that there is a convention for how this order of operations must occur. The M and the D, along with the A and the S, are given the same weight to them, meaning that depending on where they appear in our equation, you have to do them simultaneously. You can't prioritize one over the other. Because of that, we need some kind of convention. When we are looking at arithmetic, no matter who you are, where you're born, what country you live in, we need some kind of convention that tells us how we are going to do this based on the order of operations. So, that getting from that to back to this, multiplication is commutative, meaning that it doesn't matter if you multiply 4 times 3 or 3 times 4. Division is not. 3 divided by 4 is different than 4 divided by 3, so we fall back on our convention, which is after you apply PEMDAS with the equal weight to the M, the D, the A, and the S, MD first, then A and the S, you read this you read this series of numbers and symbols from left to right, like you were reading an English textbook, for example. So, if you do that, you operate within the parentheses first, you get 4, and then you read the equation left to right, prioritizing neither the M or the D, just left or right. And if you do that, you find that you have 4 here, then you have to divide 8 into 2, and then you have to multiply by 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And that is the most accepted answer to this mathematical problem. 16, if you're following the proper conventions in arithmetic as we consider them today, 16 and not 1 is the correct answer. I know you're still going to argue about it in the comments below, but hey, them's the brackets, kid. Hello and welcome to another edition of Because Science Live, the live version of this show where I take all of your comments, questions, and corrections and I try to answer them off the top of my head to the best of my ability. Hey, could you tell that it was live already because of the number of times that I said something wrong? Look, I don't know everything. I'm not a working scientist. I'm not even an expert in any field I consider. But I know a little bit about a lot of sciencey and pop culture things. So if you have a question for me that you think I might be able to answer, or at least answer in an entertaining way, throw it in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, and Voice of the Void Nate will get to the best ones. Please do not spam the chat because we will never read those.
Never.
Never.
How's it going, Kyle?
Oh, you know, never that great.
Yeah. From Robert D. Wilson.
Frequent commenter.
Is sonic vibration a strong enough force to shatter a tooth?
This feels like it's from something very specific. But sonic vibration, it sounds like you are getting at something like a resonant frequency. And everything has a resonant frequency. It's harder for more complicated systems like a person or like a tooth and not just like a hunk of metal or what have you. But everything has a resonant frequency. So in theory, I suppose that if you could create the perfect situation for resonance to build up, meaning that you're pushing on the tooth with pressure waves from the outside of it, and it causes undulations, waves within the material of the tooth itself, which build on each other in a constructive way until the material of the tooth itself can't handle those waves and it cracks. I think in theory you could probably do something like this, but I have no idea how you would do it or what it would be like. But we do, this might not be, maybe your question means something different. Can you shatter material with sound from maybe like a distance? Well, we do something like that when, say, if you do not want to pass a kidney stone, and I hear you definitely don't want to pass a kidney stone, sometimes we can use basically like a sonic laser where we point sound waves through your body into your kidneys and it breaks up the stones with the sonic vibration, as you put it, the pressure waves constructively interfering on the kidney stone, and then you can break it up without doing anything surgically or without, passing it, and that'd be good. So you can crack solid material with sound moving around, probably. We do it, so why not?
From Martian Marcera.
Martian?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm here for it.
Water's surface becomes harder when hit under high velocities. How fast would a human body need to be hitting it for the body to go splat as if it were hitting concrete?
So this is a very common urban truism instead of like urban myth or urban legend. The Mythbusters actually tested this at one point where they were dropping a pig in a body bag from different heights onto concrete versus onto water. And what they found is that if you were dropping something high enough such that it gets to terminal velocity, the injuries that you sustain upon hitting both materials is it's much more on concrete. I think where this comes from is the idea that, if you have a basic conception of how materials work, you know that water is considered to be incompressible. So then we have this idea that if you drop something on it, it can act really hard, right? And you can't compress it, so it will act like concrete at some point, right? Well, water's still in the ocean or whatever. Even though you cannot compress a certain volume of water any much further, it compresses a little bit, but much further, the water just moves out of the way. It can still move out of the way according to some force you are putting on it. It is not like a slab of concrete. And so I don't think there's a velocity at which water will be equivalent. There's probably an inflection point where they meet, and by which I mean that there's at some point the injuries are probably so comparable, but it won't matter. Like both situations will kill you, and then at that point, does it really matter? No. Anything below the range, whatever it is, that would definitely kill you falling from that height, I would much rather fall into water than straight onto concrete. You can take my word on that one. Don't do it. Don't do that.
From Matterbeam.
MB, OG, SN.
What's your take on Neurolink? In 10 to 20 years, we could be texting with our minds or piloting drones. What would you use it for?
Okay, you may have activated my rant button, by which I mean I just heard there's a new book out called Zucked, which is about the dangers of something like a Facebook. And it's very compelling to me for this reason, which I will then apply to Neuralink. Social media and social networks have been constructed through their business model to manipulate human attention, create addictive feedback loops, and exploit us as fuel in a system that wants to get as much data about you as possible and sell it without your consent to the highest bidder to anyone. Not the best system if you really start thinking about it. Why is it legal that say my phone carrier can sell my location data to anyone that it wants? It can do that. Why is it legal that Gmail reads your emails and then sells that information to advertisers to target you. That happens. If you use Gmail, Google Docs, they do that kind of thing. I'm not trying to scare you here, but these kind of things are going on. There needs to be massive reform, in my opinion, to these giant technology companies. All that is to say that if you started embedding something that you could interact with on a neurological level, like immediate, you can just, like you say, Matterbeam, like you could just think about emailing someone. I think there is a crazy danger that you could fall pathologically into one of these feedback loops where you could just be in a stupor of checking notifications at light speed, writing emails, and you would get lost in it and lost in your own head. And I think if any of you, like me, are working 9 to 5, writing emails, writing scripts if you do that kind of thing, or just writing, checking notifications, being on social media, you can kind of start to lose yourself in a feedback loop. I don't know if I want to make that more accessible to me. I would actually rather push it further away, so that it was in like a book or something that I had to access consciously. So Neuralink, I think it is. Brain-machine interfaces could be incredibly revolutionary for certain things. It could help with neurological disorders. It could help be like a leash on certain AI stuff that we come up with. However, I think in the context of what we would probably sell it for and use it the most for, something like social media or tweeting or writing emails, I think there is a supreme danger that we would have to be very careful to avoid if we should do it at all. Rant mode deactivated.
Nice. From It's Cody K.
Thinking about deleting my Facebook account after that book, I'm telling you. Oh. Yeah, it's crazy.
Why is critical thinking important?
Come on now. You know my thoughts on this. So obviously critical thinking is important. That's just, on the face of it, you should think more diligently about stuff. I think all of us here agree on that. I want to go a little bit deeper. When you say critical thinking, we could think of two different kinds of thinking, and this was developed as an idea, as a concept by probably the most famous psychologist alive right now, Daniel Kahneman. And in his book called Thinking Fast and Slow, he came up with two different styles of thinking, System 1 and System 2. System 1 was a heuristic style. So it was quick and dirty, used a lot of assumptions. It's the kind of system that allows you to drive on the highway without really thinking about it. Have you ever gotten in a car, whether you were driving or not, and suddenly you just arrived there and you weren't really conscious of the in-between or what you were really doing? Well, that was your System 1 really taking over. Your consciousness, your conscious self, your I, didn't need to intrude upon that process. Now, System 2 is a much more systematic way of thinking where you stop, you expend mental resources thinking about a problem and thinking about a problem critically. It would fall into System 2, where you evaluate evidence, you evaluate claims, you change your thinking or not, and what have you. So, System 2 thinking is obviously very important in all aspects of our life and everything that we use our consciousness for. You want to think more deeply about stuff that demands it and not rely all the time on System 1 if you don't have to. Or rather, let me put it this way, do not export things to System 1 that could be more important, especially stuff, going back to my rant mode activated, especially stuff that you see on social media or the internet. I think we have fallen into a loop just as a culture of applying System 1 quick heuristic thinking to everything. Oh, that says one political party that I don't agree in the headline, therefore I know this is bad and I'm not going to click on it. Maybe we should start slowing down a little bit, thinking, we usually think fast, but maybe it does help to think slow every now and again. Doesn't mean that you're dumb or not intelligent. It's just you can consider your options. Be diligent. Live an examined life. Some philosopher said that. Socrates? I don't know. I'm a millennial. I'll just look it up on Google after it reads my emails.
From Colin Stone.
Hello. Wow, I'm really freaked out. I'm freaking myself out, actually. And I'm on the... Do I even exist? I'm just in this video.
Kyle, just don't worry about it.
I can't not worry about
What's your
it. It's my job.
favorite film of all time?
My single favorite film of all time. Hard to say. everyone has a different kind of film for this answer, right? Well, my favorite action movie, my favorite drama, thriller, what have you. I don't know. I'd say, the two movies that I've watched more than any other movie in the last couple of years that are action movies, which I'll just stick to action movies for a second, are Mad Max Fury Road, which most people have seen and is so awesome. But one that I think people slept on is Dredd 3D. Because maybe it had 3D in the title, but it has Keith Urban and Cersei in it, and it is awesome. And there was like a month where I watched it like twice a week or something like that. It is so dope. If you haven't seen Dredd 3D and you like gory, gritty action movies, you'll like this one, I promise. Especially if you like movies like The Raid, and if you like slow-mo. There's a lot of slow-mo in that. And Keith Urban's in it. He's good. He never even takes off the helmet. I appreciate that, because if any other actor, any other big Hollywood actor was playing Dredd, at some point they'd be like, hey, yo, but I have to take off the helmet at some point so they can see my face. No, Keith Urban says, I'm just a character keeping the helmet on the whole time. I appreciate that. Yes, that was a Sylvester Stallone impression.
That was great.
Oh, hey, yo, what if whatever. I was in Demolition Man. Was he? Was he in Demolition Man?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he was.
I've gotten to the point where I know almost nothing about anything else other than this kind of stuff, and I just outsource it to like SEO in my brain. Who is that guy with like the Rocky voice who had the thing with the belt? I'm losing my mind out here, Nate. You're not really.
From Max Wolford.
Thank you.
How fast does the Earth's core spin?
Are you laughing at me as you're...
And will it change any time before the sun consumes the inner planets? Is there any friction that could cause it to slow down or spin differently?
Oh man, I'm going to have to bite the bullet on this one and say I have no idea. It's good to know what you don't know. This is one of them. I am not an expert. I have no idea how fast the Earth's core rotates. I don't know if it's slowing down. Probably is. But I don't know the time frame on that. You say when the sun consumes us, 5 billion years or so. I don't know. What's important to understand about the rotation of Earth's core, though, is that that is what creates the magnetosphere around us that protects us from solar radiation, cosmic radiation, that kind of thing. Because it's a spinning ball of metal, it has electromagnetic influence, and it creates an electromagnetic field around us, and without it, we probably wouldn't have evolved here on Earth. So the spinning of the Earth's core, this dynamo, is super, super important. I just don't know the details on it. Thanks for your question, though.
And I was laughing at you earlier because you said Keith Urban, when it's Carl Urban.
Oh, I said Keith Urban the whole time. You know what I love about him? A, plays guitar. B, married to Gwyneth Paltrow? No, that's Apple. No, that's their son. No, Chris.
All right,
it's Carl Urban in
move
Dredd
on.
3D. I apologize to Keith Urban. You have very pretty hair. It's Carl Urban. I apologize. Watch Dredd 3D. Tell him I sent you, and then I said sorry.
From ex-CDN Forces.
Oh man, I feel bad about that now. It's live.
Big fan of your show. My question is, how come as humans we can't smell metal?
Can you not? Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if you held up a piece of steel and a piece of aluminum to your nose in a blindfolded sniff test, would you be able to tell the difference? I don't know. I'm gonna go off a little bit on a limb here. I am speculating, but if you think about what you're actually smelling when you smell, I think for whatever reason when I was a kid, I just thought it was like some kind of like essence that you're smelling, just something in something coming off of it that you interpreted as smell. But it is actually molecules, little particles, atoms and such that are coming off of a material that go into your olfactory bulb and get translated into some kind of scent. So you have to be smelling particulate. It has to make it to your face. So when you're cutting something like an onion and volatiles are evaporating and going up into your face, your stuff is getting into your nose. You're actually smelling it. I would speculate that metal, because you are usually not experiencing metal in a way that it is being for lack of a better word, atomized, where, you know, you're not like scraping metal and then trying to smell it or something like that. I would guess that not as many particles come off pieces of metal that can be smelled in comparison to other things like water that evaporates or what have you that can make it into your nose. So I don't know if we haven't, I don't know if it's that we didn't evolve to smell metal. I think metal is just harder to smell because it's harder to get it to get off the thing and into your nose as particulate. Because rust has a smell. I mean, metal has a smell if you get close enough to it. Go sniff a doorknob. You'll know what I mean.
From Hippie Hair.
Love it already.
If a TV station offered you a chance to do a science show, would you?
Yeah, man. I love this channel. I love the shows that we do here. I love getting geeky with you every single week for the last 252 weeks in a row. But my opinion has always been that impact is more important. So if there is a way for me to increase the impact we are having with the nerdy ideas we have here, I would take it as long as I could continue everything that I thought was important. I would take a TV show and continue Because Science if I could in a heartbeat. In fact, I did that in 2016 when I hosted a show on the Science Channel, a Mythbusters reality show. So yes, in fact, trying to do TV stuff almost every single day.
From Maxwell Zeta.
Because before I was in the void, I was in Los Angeles.
If Aquaman were deep under the sea,
how deep?
Would he be able to fart, or would the water pressure prevent him from doing so?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you could ask a deep sea diver if it's harder to fart under pressure, pushing down on them. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know without getting kind of weirdly, grossly technical. Because if you opened your butt, let's just say, because of the pressure differential, a bubble could probably still escape. You know, like, for example, you can still exhale from the regulator, or whatever it's called, the mouthpiece, on a scuba tank. So you can still breathe out when you're deep underwater. It doesn't stop the bubbles from coming out of that apparatus. So if it doesn't stop those bubbles, which are probably at a higher pressure, but if it doesn't stop those bubbles, then could it also not stop a fart bubble? I don't know, but no, I don't like where your head's at. I was going to say I did, but I don't.
From Rob Meller.
Hello, Robert.
Kyle, you always tell us the superpowers we don't want.
It's true.
Which superpower do you personally want?
Well, one superpower that people ask me to consider a lot, and I haven't because it'd be crazy complicated to think about what would actually happen, is I've said before that I would like to stop time. And only because I'm the kind of person that constantly second guessing myself and wishes they could, and has a lot of regret and wishes they could change options like reloading a save state in an RPG where, okay, oh wow, this seems like a really important scenario. I'm going to freeze time, I'm going to think about it with System 2 critical thinking, and then I'm going to unfreeze time and then give this person my best answer. Or, I mean, if you were like immortal or something, I mean, think about what you could do with this kind of power. I mean, you could ask me a question right here. I could stop time, go read a book in a library for like a year, and then come back with the best answer ever. And to you, it would be instantaneous and be like, wow, Kyle's smart. But obviously, there's a lot of weird stuff you could do if you could stop time. But I'd like to stop time. A lot of you say, well, wouldn't that mean you wouldn't be able to see anything because photons wouldn't be moving? I don't know. You could still walk into those photons, right? I don't know, but I'd like to stop time.
From Zara TV.
Oh, TV show?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, yo.
If you could go climbing with a historical or fictional character, who would you take and why?
If I could go rock climbing with any person in history. I mean, rock climbing with The Rock just sounds fun to me. Jason Momoa is an avid rock climber, and I've seen him at a local climbing gym here in the Void. So I'd like to climb with him. Let's put that out into the universe and see if it can get out of here. I'd like to climb with him because he actually climbs and he's interested in it. I wouldn't want to just see anyone fail. Rock climbing is hard. I wonder what Newton would say. Probably nothing. Busy calculating. I feel him.
From Wyatt Rose.
Hello, Wyatt.
In light of your new episode, would putting electrodes in someone's head, like Harley Quinn, permanently alter someone's personality?
Is that what happened? I'm not up on the canon. I don't see why not. So, you're probably aware of electroshock therapy, which was a therapy given to people that was kind of in fashion, then it fell out of fashion because it seemed so barbaric. You put two electrodes in the side of someone's temples, and then you run a lot of electric current through it, and you basically zap them. This seemed barbaric, but interestingly, it is still used today because there is an interesting effect for people with major depression, where if you give someone with major depression electroshock therapy, it can more or less reboot their system, and they can have their symptoms alleviated significantly by having electricity run through their brain. So just considering extreme cases like that, I would say yes, electric shocks to the brain could definitely change your personality because we've seen it happen literally. But I want to talk just for a second on, just think about it more, zoom out a little bit. Your brain is, even though we're like naive dualists, we think that there is something that is us and then there's the brain that is separate, where in physical reality, you are your brain. The mind is what the brain does. And so affecting the brain in any way has a chance to change your mind and your personality. If I stuck a pencil in your brain, you know it would do something to your mind. But in the same way, you have to extend that to something like an electric shock. It could change your neurophysiology or biology enough that you became a different person. Why not? We do it today as therapy. One more?
One more. And I'm asking this question because we talked about it this morning. From DRich222.
Don't allude that we have a relationship outside of this place.
What's your favorite video game?
Oh, my favorite I am now a part of a very exclusive club where not only have I 100%ed the main game, I've 100%ed both of the DLCs, which total around 100 hours just for the extra content. My favorite video game, modern video game, I will say, is The Witcher 3. I do not think that there is any better modern game, any better RPG, definitely, but any better modern game. There are games that come close, like The Last of Us or God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, things like that. But I think in terms of sheer value, content, I played The Witcher 3 and have now completely 100%ed it, and I finished it yesterday, just yesterday. 4 years after the fact, and I still found new stuff that I had never seen before. The care and the richness of that world, I think, is unparalleled, even if the controls are a little bit janky. So I will say, The Witcher 3. Oh, wait. My medallion's humming. It's time to end the episode. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Because Science Live. I can hear you shaking your head, Nate. I hope you had a very good week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Next week, of course, it is more Because Science. New vlog, new live stream, new episode, an episode that's a little bit more serious, but I think you're going to find extremely fascinating, just like I did. So, like I said, have a wonderful rest of your week. Go tell everyone that you know that they are probably wrong about how to do this math. And when you do it, though, be nice to each other, because this is all we got.